Bleacher Report just came out with the Knicks trade targets, and Chris and I are here to break it all down. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel and Chris from Knicks Digest. And Chris, Bleacher Report came out with an article talking about the Knicks' top 3 trade targets towards the trade deadline. And the first one on the list, we got Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz, we got Bruce Brown from the Toronto Raptors, and we got Malcolm Brogden from the Portland Trailblazers. So, Chris, simply put, what I want to ask you, between those 3 players, I want to know your ranking as far as who would you like to see the Knicks go after the most, the second most, and the third most?
For me, the first most, the one who I want to go after by far the most, is kind of a head above the other two, which is Malcolm Brogden. I understand there's injury concerns with Brogden, and that's fair, but it's also just the fact that he's like nearly a 40% shooter from deep. He can make plays for himself. He can get himself open with the ball. He gets his teammates open. He's the reigning sixth man of the year. He has a lot of playoff experience. I think Brogdon, I mean, he doesn't have the most playoff experience, I guess you could say, because of Bruce Brown's career. But Brogdon has the most NBA experience with being a successful player, as he's been in the league a while now. I believe he was the 2016 Rookie of the Year. Tremendous talent, perfect guy off the bench for the Knicks if they want to replace Emmanuel quickly. It gives the Knicks a guy who could really help them take both Julius Randle and Brunson off the court together at sometimes, get them some more rest. And I think especially that would be important now with Julius being out for around a month. So I would definitely go Brogdon first, and then probably Clarkson, because I think the Knicks' biggest need is shot creation. And Bruce Brown is the worst shot creator out of the group. He's also Bruce Brown. Is too similar to Josh Hart that I don't think it makes as much sense. As though even though Jordan Clarkson, not the greatest shooter in the world, not the best shooting numbers, I could see the efficiency going up with the Knicks because he'd be in smaller increments and he'd probably be taking easier shots.
Malcolm Brogdon is number 1 on your list, and got the stats up here. So right now for the Portland Trailblazers, he's averaging 15.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, converting 43% from the field and 41% from 3. And then after Brogdon, you said you had Jordan Clarkson, right? That would be your
Yeah.
second most. So Jordan Clarkson for the Utah Jazz, averaging 18 points, 3.5 rebounds, 5 assists, 42 converting 42% from the field, 30.9 from 3, which is basically 31%. And then last but not least, you had Bruce Brown for the Toronto Raptors. 11.8 points, 5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, converting 47.6 from the field and 33% from 3-point. So basically, Bruce Brown, you wouldn't want to go after Bruce Brown because you feel like Josh Hart is already that kind of player, and if we get another Josh Hart type player, it's kind of like redundant, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think especially with having OG Anunoby, there's not really that much of a need for redundancy around a Josh Hart type player. Because in my mind, Bruce Brown is better than Josh Hart, but it's not some substantial difference. And I would rather the Knicks try to fill another need, even though there's an argument that Bruce Brown is the best player out of those 3. I think the Knicks should try to fulfill another need instead of just going for the talent in Bruce Brown and the fact that he's a jack of all trades type player. Tibbs loves those guys. Bruce Brown would fit well with the Knicks, but I think Brogdon would also. And I just don't think Brown makes sense if you have Josh Hart, if you're running out this rotation. When we go to the playoffs, Tibbs runs basically an 8-man rotation. There will be a ninth guy who's getting like 6 to 8 minutes a game, but it's truly an 8-man rotation. Let's assume Mitchell Robinson comes back just because it's more of a fun assumption to make. Then with our starting lineup being Brunson, DiVincenzo, OG, Randall, and Hartenstein, with Mitch off the bench, with Josh Hart and Bruce Brown, that's a lot of redundancy. It's not a lot of shooting on your bench unit. Adding in Malcolm Brogdon gives you a 40% shooter off the Knicks bench, and the Knicks bench desperately needs someone who can put some shots in the basket from deep.
The one thing I'll say about Bruce Brown that I like about his game, he is a slasher. And if there's one thing we can talk about the Knicks roster right now is if anything, we have more ball stoppers than slashers. As much as I love Jalen Brunson, you could make the argument that he is a ball stopper. Julius Randle is the king of ball stoppers on the New York Knicks right now, even though he's going to be out for about a month. Who else? Dante DiVincenzo. If anything, right now he's probably the most slasher type player on the roster right now. But Bruce Brown compared to Josh Hart, yeah, he's more of a glue guy, hustle type player. So maybe that'll be the argument I would make up for Bruce Brown. But as far as me personally, the number one player that I would actually want the Knicks to go towards, I would actually want them to go towards Jordan Clarkson. Throughout this, since the OG and Anunoby trade, me and you have been talking ad nauseum just about how like who's gonna be that player coming off the bench to help Jalen Brunson, give him the breathers, especially in the playoff minutes are incredibly intense. They're a lot more pressurized, and we're not sure if Deuce is going to be able to step up to the plate. But Jordan Clarkson, we have somebody who is super, super experienced in the playoffs, even going to the championship. He went to the championship with LeBron, right? When he was with Cleveland, I believe.
Yes, he didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get a ton of minutes on that team though, but yeah, he was on the 2018 Cavs.
So there you go. And then we also have just playoff experience. Jordan Clarkson is he has that under his belt. And then on top of that, is he could create his own, man. He's like Jamal Crawford. You throw him in the game and be like, "Yo, Clarkson, all we need you to do is be aggressive and look for your shot." And me personally, that would ease my mind. If I see Deuce out there in the playoffs, I'm like, "Oh, crap." Like, I know we're not depending on him, but I would just like to be comfortable and have my mind at ease that like, okay, if we rotate the ball and Deuce has the ball and we're looking for someone to create offense, like I'm not confident in Deuce. So that's just me personally.
I know what you mean because something the Knicks have kind of let out is that they see Deuce more of a combo guard, kind of an undersized two, than as a true backup point guard. And Jordan Clarkson added to that roster just to hype up Jordan Clarkson because a lot of times I feel like when I talk about him on Knicks Digest, I'm constantly bringing up the fact that he's not a great shooter and that I do have an affinity for shooting. But if we're talking six men, Jordan Clarkson has been the sixth man of the year before. He's been one of the best six men in the league for a while now. He's been on a few different Utah Jazz teams. He was teammates with Donovan Mitchell. Just saying.
Nah.
Um, for those Donovan Mitchell stands out there who do want him in New York, I'm slowly becoming one of you.
So you're saying,
Just
so you're saying if the Knicks trade for Jordan Clarkson, they're gonna use that as like a bargaining chip? Be like, hey, we got your buddy here. You want to come to New York?
all I'm saying is connections never hurt. They never hurt.
Now, listen, I'm definitely in agreement with you. Like Jordan Clarkson, especially from 3 point, is not great. But again, I like him as a player as far as creating his own shot, and he literally has like his memory of like the shots that he's taking is not really there. And again, I just want somebody that I can actually definitively look at and be like, okay, this guy can create his own shot if he's put in that position. So that's just my argument for Jordan Clarkson. Malcolm Brogdon, man, I don't know, man. Like, that's another great pick, but honestly, man, it's just like he's just so injury prone. Like, if he didn't have the injury history, I would have put him at the top of the list. But it's like last season, the Boston Celtics picked him up. They went to the Eastern Conference Final, and then Malcolm Brogdon again was out a few games because of injury. I think it was an ankle this time, and I'm just like, of course, he had a good regular season, but when the playoffs come around, there's always something with him. So that's why I have him second.
No, I think that's super fair reasoning. I mean, the biggest knock on Malcolm Brogdon's career is the injuries, and the only thing that even comes close is why the hell his free throw percentage is just dropping randomly, which has also been happening. I'm not going to say Brogdon's over the hill because he's 31 years old and primes are longer now with the advances in medical science and all that and sports technology.
True.
And Jordan Clarkson's the same age, but Jordan Clarkson plays a younger game of basketball, and I'm saying that positively towards Clarkson. I think it's very close in a way, though I'm taking Brogdon because as I've said, I have an affinity for shooting. Brogdon's also a better defender than Clarkson. To give Jordan Clarkson some credit, he gives the Knicks, and not play style wise, they play very differently, or well, the man who I'm about to compare to him played very differently. He's now retired and off at college. A little hint of who I'm talking about in J.R. Smith. Clarkson and J.R. Smith have a similarity to their vibe on the court, and I say that positively. J.R. Smith was so valuable to a ton of successful teams. I don't want to say he's a wild card or something like that. I don't want to fall under that narrative. Oh yeah, the Henny God. He's stoned, he's drunk while he's playing. That's not true. J.R. Smith has actually said he doesn't even like Hennessy. It's just something that's happened that was funny. But like J.R. Smith has had a lot of impact on a lot of successful teams. He was on 4 different Cleveland Cavaliers teams that went to the NBA Finals. He was on the best team the New York Knicks put out for a long time before last year's Knicks. J.R. Smith, he gave his teams a vibe that was needed. And one of the biggest things was what you mentioned, which is the shot memory. he didn't care. He missed a shot. It's like, oh well, never gonna make that one because I already missed it. Too bad. I guess I'll shoot it again next time, or I'll have the confidence to keep shooting. It's like the legendary Dion Waiters quote. Oh, I'd rather go 0 for 26 than 0 for 9 because that means I lost my confidence. It wouldn't hurt the Knicks to have someone like that, and Malcolm Brogdon is not going to do that the way that Clarkson does. So I do see why the interest is there in Jordan Clarkson, especially when considering his playoffs. A concern I have is the price tag because the Jazz, Danny Ainge just clearly doesn't like the Knicks. So I think the price tag could be worrisome. I would prefer if Malcolm Brogdon costed more than Jordan Clarkson, I would just take Clarkson. I want to give up as little as possible. I think that matters to me more. But if they were the same price, I would lean Brogdon. I just don't think they are. I think Clarkson's going to be more expensive because he's on the Jazz.
Well, I mean, Danny Ainge is definitely looking for what? What do you think? 2 first-round draft picks?
Probably.
Two
Like
first round?
protected, but probably still first rounders.
Yeah, that's a little tough. Besides these 3 players, is there any other players that are on your radar that you would actually like to see the Knicks maybe make an attempt at getting? One player that comes to mind for me is a big man, because again, the Mitchell Robinson news, yes, optimistic, but we don't know for sure if he's coming back. Andrew Gafford. I've been saying it for a while now, ever since Mitchell Robinson went out and we did videos and we were trying to think of names. Andrew Gafford is a big from Washington Wizards that I always like, athletic, not looking for him to contribute a lot on the offensive end, but obviously rebounds, blocks, getting up and down the paint. Like I think he would be a really good fit. I'm not sure how likely that would actually be, but yeah, I just wanted to pick your brain if there's any other players on your mind that you would like the Knicks to try and go get.
I don't hate the idea of getting another big man, especially because of Julius Randle's injury. I don't know if I want to center per se. Look, clearly the Knicks' backup center situation is kind of a mystery. We don't know if Achua is that guy. We don't know if Jericho Sims is that guy. I'm hoping Mitch is going to come back so he could give us 20 minutes a night. If we were to then trade for Daniel Gafford, not
Oh, I said Andrew? Damn. Sorry about that. You should have corrected me. I said Andrew like for 5 minutes.
I thought about it. I didn't want to disturb your flow.
Everybody in YouTube comments, don't kill me, all right? I got the last name right. Sorry, guys. But anyway.
Got it eventually. Like, we got there. It's fine. They've already commented. They've already said, Daniel. I would rather them go for a power forward because I can't think of anyone per se because it's weird. The Knicks have a rotation that feels like it's fairly set in stone to at least somewhat of a degree.
Yeah.
I would like some more insurance if Julius Randle's injury takes longer than we'd expect, or if he gets re-injured or something like that. I would like the idea specifically of a stretch four. And again, maybe it's my affinity for three-point shooting, but it's because Randle is everything a power forward is except for a stretch four. That's the one thing you can't say Julius is. Can he hit threes? Sure. But he's not one of those kind of modern NBA power forwards who's anywhere from 6'7" to 6'9" is going to stand somewhere, wait for the ball to come their way, catch and shoot nearly 40% from three. I would love for the Knicks to get a forward who can really start hitting from deep. I understand OG can, but it wouldn't be fair to say if OG's playing power forward that he's a stretch four because that's just he does more than that. He's not just shooting threes on offense. He has more of an offensive bag, as we've seen with the Knicks so far. And as we're going to see when Randle's not here for the next month or so, I would like someone who could really just stretch out the floor for the Knicks, be another option, make Josh Hart not have to play power forward. Someone like a Bojan Bogdanovic, except I'm going to assume his price is too high to where it wouldn't be worth it for the amount of minutes he would play. But when you said that, the first name that did come to mind was Bojan, because I would love for the Knicks to get someone who could stand on the perimeter, know their role, and just be able to hit some shots as a stretch four for them. I think that's one of the bigger things that they're missing with this team that most successful teams have is a stretch big.
Going back to your OG points, like also you don't want OG playing the power forward for like the remaining however long Julius Randle's out because that's going to be more wear and tear, and then by the time he gets to the playoffs, he might be like even more tired, and then he's going to have to match up with another big. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. Going to the Julius Randle injury, Shams reported right now is just estimated about a month.
Yeah, and then Woj said that the Knicks are going to be taking it on a week-to-week basis. Something to highlight that Ian Begley did say also, is that there's a chance PT doesn't work out with the dislocation, and they're going to have to opt for surgery, which is going to end Randle's season. But it doesn't feel like that is what's going to happen. I think if Randle gets surgery for his shoulder, it would be after this season because it's not something that's like necessarily going to happen now.
God, this guy can't catch a break. Another injury that going down the season, and then we're gonna have to like have a little asterisk with his performance. God,
I just said in the video that I made this morning on Julius Randle, I'm saying this morning, it was like 12 in the afternoon, but I wake up late. I won't lie. It's part of the NBA community. Look, we were watching games till 1 in the morning, so we go to bed around 2:30. So we have weird hours, guys. Julius has the reputation, for a reason, that his playoff performance, that he's not a great playoff performer. I understand. Look, his numbers aren't good. And I had a more blunt take to it on the video where I basically just told all the fans who were saying that essentially to shut up.
Well, okay, the series against Atlanta, there were no reports of any injuries or anything, right? That I can remember. He just played horrible.
No, but he was gassed. Like, he was completely burnt because he was playing 37.6 minutes per game throughout almost every single game that season and facing double teams because the rest of that lineup was Elfrid Payton. Who started shooting? Reggie Bullock, who had one of the worst shooting performances that he had ever had in the playoffs, if not the worst. RJ, who forgot how to hit threes after being a 40% three-point shooter that season. And Nerlens Noel, who had no semblance of an idea how to guard that pick and roll that Trey and Capella ran for 5 games.
And yeah, I think Derrick Rose was the best player, second best player on that, or first, whatever, on that team.
Derrick Rose was the best playoff performer that season.
Exactly. So that season, all right, you gave your whole spiel, no injuries, but he was going up against defenses and all that. The next season, they missed the playoffs. Then the following season, which is last season, they make it to the playoffs, and first round ankle injury, second round against Miami. Yes, ankle is not great, but then we find out in the offseason that he had to get surgery, so it's a little bit more serious than we expected. I don't know, man. It's just like, I get it. Okay, yeah, I get it. You're human, you have your human flesh, and if something happens to your body is gonna be reacting differently. I get it, man, but it just sucks, bro, because I'm just tired of getting all these excuses from Julius Randle fans. I just want to see a Julius Randle healthy with no excuses anymore, being like, yo, you made the All-NBA team 2 out of the last 3 seasons. I want to see you healthy, and I want to see you be able to reach your potential and reach your ceiling, and no more excuses, bro. And it looks like we're not going to have that this season.
No, probably not. I mean, look, if I think that Randle's playing badly because I think he's playing badly, I will say that in all honesty. Last season, I'm going to swear by his ankle being a problem. He stopped driving to the hole as much, and there was a few different times in that series. I mean, he missed the first game against the Heat, or the second game. He missed either the first or the second game in the Miami series.
And he missed one with Cleveland. He rolled his ankle, he missed the next game, and then he came back, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, with the Knicks, he played 10 games last season of the Knicks' 12 playoff games. And Julius has been a tremendous player for the Knicks. There's no doubting that. The playoffs have not been his best. But when you're running down the court and you just collapse in on your own ankle, it's not just like, oh, he's playing poorly. It's like there's something wrong here. And if he got an operation on it, and knowing how Julius is, the man doesn't want to sit for anything. If he was sitting out playoff games, he must have been almost unable to walk. Like, I'm going to take a guess that was really bad, and he was probably advised to a degree to not play because that was bad. Like, I think his ankle was messed up. And look, this is his right shoulder. It's not his left shoulder. His shooting arm's fine. So if Randle just plays poorly in the playoffs this year, and he looks like normal Randle, then I'll be like, all right, well, now it's cause for concern. But 15, I believe he's played 15 playoff games in his career. 15 playoff games into his career, between the fatigue of having to carry a below-average Knicks team all season to a 4th seed, and then getting double-teamed all playoffs, and then playing on a absolutely trashed ankle, I'm not ready to call him a bad playoff performer yet.
All right, but are you willing to put him in the top 3 New York Knicks of all time?
No, I'm not.
Is he top 5? No. He's definitely top 10, though.
At this point, you got to say he's top 10. I mean, we literally talked about this when we were sitting at the Knicks game. We're like, we've been around since 1947, and our future's our past is kind of embarrassing.
It is horrible. Our franchise history is horrible, bro. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, not enough guys on our team throughout these 78 82 years of NBA basketball,
Yo, that is.
and it's hard to give a top 5 for the best Knicks players. You can. I know your 1 and 2 are different, but for the masses of New York Knicks fans, the top 5, if you were to just poll Knicks fans, or the top 2, you're gonna give Ewing and Clyde in one order or the other. I think we both agree that Clyde's the greatest Knick of all time. You have Willis Reed second, understandable. The ring, the 2 rings. I think those 3, and then in my opinion, and we'll get to this over All-Star breaks, you know where I'm going, and Carmelo Anthony are 4 of the 5 locks.
Let it go!
We'll talk about this in a few weeks when we have to come up with content ideas after the trade deadline and over the All-Star break.
Facts.
There's 3 to 4 guys who you can realistically say are top 5 Knicks of all time and be very confident and okay with it. We're outside of that, things get a little murky. Randle's near though. He can get there. Brunson.
Oh, Brunson. You know my take. Brunson's gonna finish top 3, maybe top 1, depending on how many rings. If he gets rings, let's go, baby.
Also, remember, think about it this way: the Knicks haven't won a championship when there's been a 3-point line. The Knicks haven't won a championship when there's been 30 teams in the NBA. It's a lot harder to win a ring nowadays. There's a real argument, and I'm not saying I would make it because I don't know how the rest of this is going to pan out. If Brunson wins 1 ring with the Knicks, especially as their best player, he's instantly going to have an argument as the greatest Knick of all time.
I'm with you. I'm on that bandwagon. I can easily make that argument. But that's it for today's video, guys. I want to say thank you for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let us know what you think about the 3 players that Chris and I talked about, and if there's anybody else on your mind that you would like to see the Knicks go after. But until next time, guys, it's Go Knicks, and we'll check you out later. Peace.